Hey, Mark here with a special short Talking Joe clip. This was recorded as part of our Master and Apprentice episode. It features Tim on a roll as he monologues about how he feels about Snake Eyes, particularly when he is unmasked. And without further ado, here's Tim.
And this goes back to Devil's Due, even the first arc. I think Snake Eyes loses some of his power when his face is healed or when he is not wearing his mask. And it's in issue 4 of this miniseries of Master and Apprentice. No, it's in issue 3. So there's a scene halfway through the issue, and it's a scene where Snake Eyes wakes up in bed. He's got a bandage on his arm. He walks into a living room and he sees Duke is standing there, and Duke says, "Hello, Snake Eyes." Okay. And in that first panel when Snake Eyes wakes up, he's making a face. He's making a face like you make when you wake up and you sigh and you're like, your head hurts. And then in the second panel, he's a little inscrutable because his face is a little bit in shadow. And then in the third panel, he's far away. So I don't quite know what he's supposed to be feeling. And then in the next panel where they shake hands, Duke says, "Chuckles and I owe you an apology, I think." And Caselli crops Snake Eyes' head out of the shot, which is ordinarily what I would want, but is really weird here because he's just shown Snake Eyes' head 3 panels in a row. So no, you're allowed to see this version of Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, there's so many layers to this, right? Like, he wears a mask because he's injured. He wears a mask because maybe he's ashamed. He wears a mask because it makes people uncomfortable if they see his face. In G.I. Joe stories, he takes his mask off to freak people out. When he takes his mask off in front of Scarlet and a doctor in issue 93, it's a big deal. It's like a very, very small or a big gut punch for the reader, depending on your expectations. And like, what happens in 95? The minute he gets plastic surgery, he takes hot ash to the face. And we talked about, you and I and Jay Cordray, previous host of Talking Joe. When is it at the end of Reinstated? Is it Devil's Due issue 4? Is that when Snake Eyes proposes to Scarlet?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think so.
And he's got this like very short haircut, and he just sort of looks like Duke, but not with like Duke's modern, like very, very thick buzz cut, like his like Lieutenant Guile, like his miniature Lieutenant Guile. Snake Eyes just sort of looks like anyone when he's not wearing his mask. He looks like Chuckles. He looks like Downtown. He looks like Psych Out. And when you put his mask on, you don't know what he's thinking. And that adds a lot of drama to any panel of Snake Eyes doing anything. Standing there, shaking hands, gearing up, like jumping off a roof. And so you project. And it's not that he can't communicate, because he can write notes. Like, doesn't he write a note? He writes observations in, is it issue 4?
Yeah, when he's...
Marvel issue 4, Operation Wingfield. And then otherwise, he doesn't talk. He doesn't write except for 155, right? And like 155 has a lot of power because like every 5 issues, Snake Eyes hadn't been writing notes and like doing sign language or like texting. And so every time you have him on panel and he's not wearing his mask, it's like, it's not that I need him to be scarred if I see him without his mask, because that like keeps the character damaged. It's that it makes him less interesting and less special. And so that he keeps showing up in all these scenes in these miniseries and here and there in the main Devil's Due series without his mask. And he's like, sometimes he's smiling a little bit or he's not. It just feels like the wrong note to me.
Yep.
It's like, okay, this is a Snake Eyes. This isn't my Snake Eyes. And it's sort of not Snake Eyes. And it's like, the scene in issue 1 that I was talking about where he's that montage where he's training the kid who looks like his sister, and Scarlett's on the phone and she's worried or grumpy about it. It's like, no, if we can see his expression, then we like start to, it's like, no, those expressions carry too much weight. It's like, is he smiling? Is he just, it's like, no, just put the mask on. Like if he and his apprentice are like meditating in the garden and she's on the phone, Scarlet, and she can see them, and Snake Eyes is holding a sword upright and he's like frowning or smiling. It's like, that's too much. It's giving me too much information. I want to always be sort of uncertain and guessing with Snake Eyes. And that's a decision that Devil's Due made early on that I think takes the character in a direction that I will never be on board with.
Mm.
Like, he's much more interesting on the covers of Master's Apprentice than he is in the book. And by interesting, I mean, you know, like cool and mysterious and what's the word that I use?
Inscrutable.
Inscrutable. Yeah. Like, no, Snake Eyes is inscrutable, right? It's not that he can't talk. It's that he doesn't. So in addition to him not writing notes and telling people how he feels and telling the audience how he feels, we also, by that logic, by that rule, we shouldn't see from his face how he feels. Or there's just a little bit of body language, like in some Marvel issue where he's in costume and Scarlet's in costume and he like turns away from her. Or like he's wearing his mask, his like Caucasian mask with the sunglasses, and they're on the ferry together, right? And it's like, no, it's context clues. It's that he's standing next to her and her arm is around him and they're on the freaking ferry together. It's not that he's like, like leaning his head on her shoulder. Nope, too much. It's not that he's like got these like gorgeous eyes and eyebrows and pouty lips in a Stefano Caselli Master and Apprentice panel and he's like smiling at her. Like, nope, too much. It's like Snake Eyes is action, not words and not face.
Laters.